Good afternoon. I hope you still have steam for one more. I know I'm the guy who separates you from the drinks and the appetizers outside. I try to make this as pleasant as possible for you for the next 15 minutes. So I've been on stage here a couple of years ago at another Atlassian summit. I was talking about mobile change management at the time, and it's amazing how kind of like the community has grown. Pretty excited to be here again. So today I'm going to talk about application upgrades and managing deployments of that. And I want to talk to you a little bit about the background so you get the context of how this all works. In our instance, kind of like we have a cloud-based SaaS platform, and going to talk to you about a specific problem and that we then try to solve using some Atlassian tools, and I can give you some more information about that. So I work for Strata Decision Technology. Strata Decision Technology is in the healthcare field, so we provide a cloud-based platform for financial planning and analytics and performance. We serve about 1,000 hospitals in the United States. So, and as you may have heard in the US, in the healthcare field, cost is a very big topic. So that's kind of like the space we're in. As you can imagine, we have to pull in lots of data from our clients to really be able to provide insights. So we connect and integrate with their ERP systems, with their electronic health record systems. Also connect then with like enterprise data warehouses and so on, you name it. So quite a lot of data that comes in. Connected with that, obviously, is, since we're in the security and in the healthcare space, lots of this data is healthcare data, so PHI, protected health information. So there are quite a few security requirements around what you have to do, how you can architect your solution. So for example, multi-tenancy is really difficult to do and needs to have appropriate controls around it. Obviously, we want to provide additional features for our clients, so we do like 12 releases a year right now. And there, it's a little bit about finding the balance. Obviously, we want to do more, but finding the balance between providing new features but not disrupting clients' workflow. So when they're in the middle of a budgeting process, obviously, we do not want to basically come up with lots of new features and disrupt their workflow. Also, there's some training that needs to happen. Then for the team, we are about a couple hundred people. It's a cross-functional team, so we adopted Agile quite a few years ago, Agile Scrum, and obviously also have like lots of other roles that work together to come up to create a product and then also deploy it. So one problem specifically I want to talk to you about here is sort of that as we got more clients, got much more data, bringing out more features, we realized obviously that upgrading our platform has become a bottleneck, not too uncommon obviously. We started looking into what actually are the issues that we're dealing with. Obviously, we have a large data processing infrastructure, so our platform requires more than 2,000 servers to run on. We have, for large clients, generally multiple terabytes of data. Healthcare data, then also, as I talked about, not only you need additional controls, but then there is additional audits that are happening. Some of you may be in the financial industry. I mean, it's equally regulated environment. So for example, we do like SOC 1, SOC 2, now HITRUST. HITRUST is a security certification specific for the healthcare environment that we have to do. Upgrades, obviously, that's one thing where we want to do. And then also, not too uncommon, we are basically have a monolithic architecture right now. This solution has been built over many years by a lot of people. It's modular, but still monolithic. So we've been working on a microservices-based architecture. So there's lots of things that are happening, but obviously that takes time. And we realized, okay, we have to do something that is actually an incremental improvement that gets us further. So to give you a little bit a better picture of how this currently works, we have lots of automation that is actually happening, but I would just picture this as it's not very well coordinated. So there's lots of automation that is actually working, but it feels like the orchestration, the coordination, the central view has been missing. And to give you a little bit of an idea, and this is very simplified, what is happening during a deployment process. So there are many steps that we have to go through, and that's obviously completely dependent on what application and you're supporting there. Then we started looking into, so where is actually the problem? What causes us to actually really spend more time than we wanted to and to use more people? So there's usually a dozen people that actually support that process while it's going on. We realized that actually two specific pieces that take most of the time, which is upgrading all the database schemas, and as I said, we have some limitations there due to being in the healthcare field, so it's got to be segregated. And then often or sometimes data issues that creep up. So where we have to pull people in, they have to look at these data issues, correct them, and then we got to restart sort of the automation process. So we started thinking about this quite a while ago. What could we do here? And we are a company, we do lots of things, like we have frequent hackathons, we call them hack days. And some engineers there took that really to their heart and really thought, okay, let's figure out what we can do. And we realized having sort of a centralized place, a centralized dashboard would actually be really good, would really be helpful to have that for coordination. But then they put something together which was very helpful, so proved the concept, but then the question came up, do we really want to do that ourselves? I mean, we are a product development company, we have lots of engineers, but is that really something we want to spend our time on? And isn't it better? And usually always maintenance is the problem, not putting something together, but really maintaining it. And then we started looking into our stack. What do we actually have? Is there anything there that could actually help us, and we could just integrate it and it would work for us? And here I just want to show you kind of like the tool stack that we had before. And again, that's very narrow. So we have dozens and dozens of tools, like, from the DevOps side, we use Ansible, we have the Elk stack, we use PagerDuty. That's all not reflected here. It's really just what applies. So we heavily used Slack, and actually still do. We had an old version of Confluence in place, and code is residing in Mercurial. We were, due to other projects, doing a couple upgrades and bringing in, first of all, a new version of Confluence, which was very helpful. Much better integration, where we actually could really plan out these deployments. Bitbucket, very central to actually move to Git. That was a big step for us, simplified quite a few things. And then brought in other DevOps tools like Octopus Deploy. And also at the same time, we just implemented Jira Service Desk and thought, Jira, that could actually be something that works. And my background, I've been using Jira for 12 years plus, on and off. So we felt like that's actually a good point, a good place where we could move things in. We added a couple add-ons that were needed, and then also added a status page to it. So here, just high-level view of the architecture. So what is actually happening during deployment is, first of all, we have to bring in the code from Bitbucket. Migration tool, that's like a self-developed tool that does some of these upgrades. Once that runs, it starts applying these upgrades to our infrastructure. And again, we're talking large number of servers, large number of processes. So usually for upgrades, we have per client, maybe we run 500, 600, 1,000, 1,500 processes. But now what we're doing, we also constantly send status updates into Jira, so that we really can see and have that information in Jira, what is going on, where do we stand, and so on. One other thing that happens for specific events, we fire off notifications into specific Slack channels to make sure everybody is kind of like aware what's happening. One thing we are working on right now, which will be that also within Jira, and you will see that in a moment, you can actually, when people do some actions in Jira, it will actually send back commands to our upgrade tool and then kick off processes again, so without any other manual intervention. We use PagerDuty, so there are some arrows there. One other piece I want to mention that is actually in place right now, we also do asset management in Jira, so we have very fine-grained information around all our data sources. What client is it applied for? How large is it? And so on and so forth. All that data gets updated once every 24 hours, and that turns out to be very helpful, which I can show you in the next slide. So I talked a lot about this dashboard. How this is actually going to look like. Going to show you kind of like some busy slides. It's based off a Kanban board. You see these tickets that come in, and then things start moving during the time when this update happens. So that was a little quick, so I do it now kind of like with a single case. So one task gets fired off. You see there's the asset tagged. It keeps going. That's all fully automated. We have a progress bar that shows us exactly how far along we are for that client, and things get into done. Let's now take an example where things don't go so well, where there's one of these problems that actually happens. So we start here again, all fully automated, no intervention necessary. This one moves into pending, and now also we generate kind of like a ticket that includes all the error messages that come in. It even includes who actually created kind of like the piece of the script that actually failed. And now the person who is responsible for this or is assigned to that can pick up the task, assign it to them, so we'll see who's actually working on. And then once this is done, it moves into done, and again, it will kick off the process, and if it's, at task 500 of 1,000, it will just keep going and start processing that until we are done. So you can see that there is there's quite some visibility here, and obviously, before lots of people there would be lots of Slack messages going around in regards to coordinating these things, who's going to work on what. And then also, obviously, we have now here the view, which shows you lots of things. You can even drill into the database, get all the metadata that you need to have without running any queries, without looking at any logs. So as a summary, faster upgrades, there I have some numbers, and then increased quality. There it's a little bit harder to get a handle on how much that increased. But for kind of like the time, it's between 30 and 40%. I say expected because we've only run this a few times. We'll have definitely much better numbers. Again, this is just a small piece in a bigger strategy, obviously, how to handle deployments. But it shows you kind of like how you can use the tool suite by Atlassian to your advantage, and you do to its flexibility and its RESTful interface, which is very powerful. We're able to do that very nicely. So what's next for us? We continue to execute our microservices architecture to move the platform over. And then also in regards to deployment, we're checking out some other approaches like blue-green deployment, for example, that we're working towards. Okay, that's pretty much the end of my talk.
Cool. Thanks, Martin. We do not have time for questions via mic, but Martin is happy to answer any questions you might have just at the back here. But like I said, day one is over. You made it. Congratulations. Well-earned beer upstairs, so go for it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.